Greetings, boys and girls. It is now time for Math Workshop. We're having fun learning math today. Math today is fun. We learn from our success. We learn from everyone. We're having fun learning math today. Math today is fun. We learn from our success. We learn from everyone. We're learning to think. Think today. Thinking today is fun. Thinking helps solve problems. Solving problems helps everyone. We're learning to think. Think today. Thinking today is fun. Thinking helps us solve problems. Solving problems helps everyone. Boys and girls, can you read our learning target for today? I can solve two-step word problems. Great job. Remember, boys and girls, a one-step word problem is when only one thing happens and you only have to make one calculation. A two-step word problem is where two things happen in the problem and you have to make two calculations to solve that problem. Let's look at our bonus problem that we had yesterday. Can you read it with me? Braulio found $65. He gave $12 to his mom and $7 to his dad. How much money does he still have? Pause the video if you haven't done this problem yet. Then unpause the video and let's check your answer. All right, boys and girls, let's check your answer. You should have underlined the keywords and numbers. Found $65. 65 should have been your first number in the equation. He gave $12 to his mom. Remember, if you act that out, if you give something to someone, that means you have less of it. So you subtract. So minus 12. You should have also underlined and $7 because he gave $7 to his dad as well. Remember, if you're giving something away, you have less of it. You're taking that out of your basket. So your last number is minus 7. Then it says, how much money does he still have? That's equals question mark. I hope you identified the place value of each number in your equation. In 65, there are 5 ones and 6 tens, and so you should have drawn 5 ones and 6 tens. Then we have minus 12. That means we need to take away 2 ones and one of the tens rods. Can you help me count? 1, 2, 2 ones, and one of the tens rods. Great job, boys and girls. Okay, now let's take away minus 7. Oh no, we don't have enough ones. There are 7 ones we have to subtract. So what do we need to do to get more ones? That's right, take it to the bank. Take away one of your tens rods and regroup it into 10 ones. Help me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Great job, boys and girls. Now, can we take away 7 ones? Yes, we can. Please help me count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Great job, boys and girls. Now, we don't have anything else to subtract, so let's see what our answer is. Let's draw our ones place line and our tens place line. We don't have to draw a hundreds place line because we have no hundreds. How many ones do we have left? Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We have 6 ones. Great job, boys and girls. Now, how many tens do we have left? Help me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, there are 4 tens rods. So boys and girls, how much money does he still have left? He still has $46. Now remember, boys and girls, we're explaining what we did now. So your explanation should look something like this. First, I wrote the equation 65 minus 12 minus 7 equals question mark. I subtracted 12 because he gave $12 to his mom. See, it says it right here in the problem. I subtracted 7 because he gave $7 to his dad. And here it is in the problem. I had to regroup a 10 into 10 ones. Always talk about if you have to regroup, boys and girls. And my answer was 46. Great job, boys and girls. Now let's look at our problem for today. Boys and girls, let's read it. Miss Thomas's second grade class has 51 students. Some of the students are working with her in a group. 36 students are working independently. How many students are working with Miss Thomas? Boys and girls, we've read the complete problem. Did you make a picture of this problem as you were reading it? Did you see all 51 students in Miss Thomas's second grade classroom? And then some were working with her in a group, and 36 other students were working independently or by themselves? Boys and girls, did you realize that the first number they gave us was the total amount of students in her classroom? So if we know the total amount of something, do you remember what we should draw to help us figure out this problem? Yes, we should draw the part total boxes. Just like our apple pictures. Remember, the total amount is at the bottom. I'm going to write a T for total. That's the whole apple that has not been cut. So 51 students in Miss Thomas's class is the total number. Now when you take that apple and cut it in half, we'll have part of the apple on the left side and part of the apple on the other side. Remember, when those two parts are put back together, you get the whole apple again. It's the same thing with this problem. We know the answer. We know there are 51 students in the class, so that is the total number. Some of the students are working with her in a group. Boys and girls, first I'm going to underline 51 students. Now the second sentence says some of the students are working with her in a group. Did they give us a number for that sentence? No, they didn't. Remember, boys and girls, some means we don't know the number. So we use a question mark. Boys and girls, this is part of the class. We don't know how many yet. That's why we put a question mark there. Remember, the other square at the top is the other part of the class. And when we had apples, it was the other part of the apple. Let's continue to read. 36 students are working independently. What should we underline here, boys and girls? Yes, 36 students, and maybe working independently. That means they are still a part of Mrs. Thomas's class, but they're doing something different. They're over here working by themselves. So what number goes into the other part box? That's right, 36. Okay? And going back to the question marks, some of the students are working with her in a group. I can underline in a group as well. They're still a part of her total class. But these students are working in a small group with Miss Thomas. So we have our total part boxes here to help us solve the problem. And the question should always be underlined completely. How many students are working with Miss Thomas? Boys and girls, that's the question mark number. So we have to figure out what this answer is. Now remember, boys and girls, just like the apple picture, here are those apples, boys and girls. Remember, if you cut something off of the whole apple, are you adding to that apple or subtracting from that apple? That's right, you're subtracting from that apple. So boys and girls, if we know the total amount, and then we know part of what was cut away from that total amount, we are subtracting to find out what that second part is. Boys and girls, when we subtract, don't we use a number line strategy? Yes, that's one of the strategies we can use to subtract. We'll practice with other strategies to subtract as we go along for the rest of this school year. Now, when we subtract using a number line, remember, we can count up for subtraction. We don't have to try to count backwards. That way, if we're counting up for subtraction, we may make less mistakes in counting because it's easy to count forward. So that means if we're counting forward, can we count from 51 to 36, or do we count from 36 to 51? That's right, when we count forward, that means the numbers are getting larger. So we start at the smaller number and count up to 51. So, I hope you're following along with me with your pencil and paper. 36 is our beginning number. Is 36 a friendly number? No, not yet. Now remember, if you can remember what number goes with 6 to make a 10, then you can get right to 40, the next friendly number. So you can make a fours jump. If not, go ahead and make a ones jump. 36 plus 1 is, that's right, 37. Let's make another jump. 37 plus 1 is, yes, 38. 38 plus 1 is, that's right, 39. 39 plus 1 is, yes, 40. We've made it to a friendly number. Now that we're at 40, we can jump a 10, as long as we don't go beyond the number 51. So let's jump a 10. 40 plus 10 is, that's right, 50. Because when we count by tens, 50 is the number after 40. We're almost there. Remember, we have to stop at 51. So let's make one more ones jump because 50 plus 1 is 51. Great job, boys and girls. Remember, we have to count the numbers that we skipped by, or that we skip counted by, starting with our largest number in order to find the answer. Can you help me count? Here we go. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Boys and girls, your answer should be 15. Great job. Now let's get ready to explain how we found the answer. Let's flip the question into an answer. The question asks, how many students are working with Miss Thomas? We can take off how many and say there were 15 students working with Miss Thomas. Great job, boys and girls. Okay, now let's tell what we did. We didn't make or write an equation, so we're not going to start with that. We can talk about how we subtracted 36 from 51. Or you could say I subtracted 51 and 36. First, I subtracted 51 and 36, comma, because. Do you remember why we subtracted 51 and 36? Yes, because 51 was the total amount of students in the classroom, and 36 was a part of the total amount. And in order to find the other part of the total amount, we had to subtract. Okay, first I subtracted 51 and 36 because 36 was a part of the total amount of 51 students. Boys and girls, we can word a problem any way you want to, just as long as you're talking basically about the same thing. Okay? Now, let's talk about how we subtracted. What did we do to subtract? We used a number line. So you can say that. I used a number line to subtract. And we can say I started with 36 and counted up to 51. I started with 36 and counted up to 51. Finally, my answer was 15. Excellent job. Now it's time for you to solve your own problem independently. Now it's your turn to work independently. I want you to make sure you have your pencil and paper ready. You can always look back at what we did together just a minute ago to help guide you through the problem. Now, pause the video, read the problem, and have fun. Then unpause the video and let's see if you were correct. Welcome back, boys and girls. Now let's check to see if your answer was correct. First, we learned that Mrs. Hefner's second grade class had 32 students. That was the total amount of students in the classroom. So we put 32 at the bottom of our part total box. Then we learned that some of the students are working with her in a group. Do we know how many some is? No. So that's the unknown number. We use a question mark to take the place of an unknown number or to represent an unknown number. That's part of the total. 16 students are working independently. 16 is the other part of the total amount of 32 students. How many students are working with Miss Hefner? Boys and girls, remember when we cut something away from the total amount, that means we are taking it away or subtracting. So we must subtract to see these two numbers, the total amount and what was cut away, to see how much was left. The other part, just like our apples. So we start at 16 and we count up to 32. 16 is not a friendly number, so we add 1 to get to 17, add 1 to get to 18, add 1 to get to 19, add another 1 to get to 20. 20 is a friendly number, add 10 to get to 30, we're almost there. Add 1 more to get to 31 and 1 more to get to 32. If you counted all of your skip counts at the top, you have 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Boys and girls, there are 16 students working with Mrs. Hefner. For your explanation, you should have first, I subtracted 32 and 16 because 16 was a part of the total amount of 32. I used a number line to subtract. I started with 16 and counted up to 32. Finally, my answer was 16. Great job, boys and girls. Now, boys and girls, it's time to have fun and log into MobyMax or Freckle and continue to practice your math skills. Remember, all of the links are on my blog, which I have emailed and texted to your parents, along with the usernames and passwords. Have fun learning!